One of the highlights of OpenIDM 3.0 is the role-based provisioning. And I'm going to demonstrate in this section how to create roles, assign roles to a user, remove that role from a user, and delete the actual role definition. And to do that, we're following up on sample 2B, and what I've done is I've added some additional groups in OpenDJ using the OpenDJ control panel. We have 4 new groups that are not part of the sample 2B example.ldef file that gets imported as part of the sample. And the 4 groups are guest network, printers, timesheet, and intranet. And we're going to use these groups to define a set of different roles that we can assign to users. On this image, we have a sample role definition. It contains a set of keywords that are important for you to understand in defining your own roles. The first keyword is name, which is essentially a name of your role that you're specifying, and it should be unique. Ideally, you try to avoid special characters in naming the role. The other important attribute is underscore ID. This is the object identifier of your role that you're creating, and that's also what you access through REST when manipulating or querying the role or assigning the role. The assignments essentially points out what target resource will be affected by the assignment of the role. And in our case, we have an LDAP directory, OpenICF provisioner instance configured, so we just refer to LDAP as our target resource. And part of the assignments also provides attributes and how to define and set the attributes. Each attribute needs to be specified in the provisioner configuration for that target resource, and for each individual attribute there is an operation that needs to be specified, and there's 2 different operations that can be specified. It's merge with target or replace target. Merge with target operation first merges the source value with the existing target value, then adds the value from the role assignment. The replace target operation replaces the entire target attribute value with whatever you have specified in your role definition. In addition to the way the role definition is being set up and determine what attributes are being set and how they're being set, let's quickly look at the managed.json, which also provides some interesting capabilities in how the roles are being handled. The role definition provides, or the managed role provides 3 types of actions that points out hooks to scripts when a role is being created or being updated or being deleted. This is ideal if you want to have some custom activity. For example, when you update a role, potentially you want to defer the reprovisioning of entitlements to target resources, or invoke a workflow or some kind of script. Now we're going to go ahead and create a role according to a role definition. And for this purpose, I've prepared a curl command that provides the necessary headers and the necessary payload to create a role. This role we will call contractor, and the purpose of this role is to add 2 different groups to our user and have those provisioned to LDAP. The LDAP groups is of course something that is defined in the sync.json in the mappings, and the reconciler or the discovery engine will pick that up and ensure that these groups will be provisioned. And the assignment that we're dealing with is LDAP, which is the one that we have defined. So I'm going to go ahead and run this command, which will create the role, and we will get the payload back from the system. Now that we have created the role definition and created the role in OpenIDM called contractor, we're going to assign that role to a user, and we're going to use one of the default users that was imported as part of the sample 2B. And we're going to look at Barbara Jensen, and we're going to make sure that she gets the contractor role. As we can see in the timesheet and the guest network, currently only Joe Doe is assigned to those groups. But we're going to ensure that Barbara Jensen gets these groups through that role. So the first thing we're going to do is just to query Barbara Jensen and have a look at how it looks like. We can see that Barbara's effective roles are OpenIDM authorized, and the LDAP group that she has is the OpenIDM 2, which is one of the sample groups created as part of the sample 2B. Looking at the curl command that I'm going to use to assign the role, this uses the patch, and it adds to roles the managed role contractor to Barbara Jensen, and we're using the ID of Barbara Jensen. And I'm running the command. And what will happen is that now that we have assigned the role, we can see that the effective role has been updated. It now contains the managed role contractor, and the effective LDAP groups have now added the guest network and the timesheet. And we can verify this using the control panel in OpenDJ and see that Barbara Jensen has now been added, and same goes for the guest network. Removing the contractor role is very easy to do, and I've prepared a curl command, again using patch with an operation replace, and essentially replacing the roles to only contain the OpenIDM authorized to Barbara Jensen's ID. And this removes the groups and the roles, and we can verify this again using the control panel, and can see that the timesheet and the guest network now contains only Joe Doe. The very last thing of this demonstration will be to remove the contractor role from OpenIDM. And for that, I have prepared a curl command to delete the role with a request delete on the name contractor. And just let's quickly verify the available roles. And in our case, it's only the contractor role that we have created. And let's go ahead and delete this role and query again to verify the result, and we can see that the role is gone. And that concludes the 4 different aspects of role-based provisioning that I'm covering in this demonstration. Create role, add the role to a user, remove that role from a user, and delete the role.